Hi guys, I'm just about to do the videos for this week's tarot, or today's tarot. I'm about to do Libra and Scorpio today, but I wanted to talk about some of the cool things that are going on Karma on Deck, both the YouTube and the webpage. So first of all, for some of you have been asking about the Tarot 101 series that's starting tomorrow. However, you are DM me for any questions because there is some opportunity to jump in on one-off, some classes if you want to just step in. If there's a financial component, we'll work something out for you so we can get you in the class. I just want to have some fun with it. So talking about tarot and doing the Libra Scorpio readings this week, I wanted to make a couple other more announcements. So one of the others things that are going on is I'm writing a couple books. One of them is called Off the Beaten Path, which explores the dynamics of women and their power, where we are, how we're taught as kids, what our thinking process is, and how we find ourselves in certain dynamic relationships where the empath and the narcissist or the abuser. And it's a little bit about recovery, a little bit about awareness and why we choose the things we do, and the steps it takes to come out of a abusive dynamic and find yourself back on solid ground. So it's called Off the Beaten Path, stepping off the path of broken. The other book that I'm working on is called Welcome to the Jungle. It's all about dating dynamics and, the whole process of bringing someone into your life has changed. We don't go to dinner or date. Usually it's a social media hookup, a friend of a friend, and then we start texting and talking about personal situations. So we talk about how damaged people get, and we all are reactive on this, in this exploration of finding a relationship. And what ends up happening is people, I get 90% of my phone calls are about relationships. First thing people want to know is if they've had a breakup, what their ex is up to, what they're doing, and if they're going to come back. Secondly, it's often when there's problems within a relationship or they want to find out about an individual that they just met. So when we have someone that's in relationship or in a dynamic with another individual, I wanted to talk about this especially, which, people tend to play chess with their relationships. Well, what should I do? Should I call him? Should I reach out? Should I wait for him to reach out? That's number one question. Every single person that is calling me about an ex, a boyfriend, or a person of interest, their communication is pretty shitty because they're not sure what each other wants. So the first thing that they ask me is, will he reach out? It's been a very difficult question for me to answer because I see a connection or not a connection. I have to design a way to divine the answer for you. Like I'm gonna have to go online and study like what cards and what feelings, because I usually can see the dynamics of the individual within the circumstances that they're being surrounded by. So if somebody has a problem, they're not talking, I can tell them that they're mad at you, there's someone else, they're busy and going through trauma, they're depressed. Like I can see, or overwhelmed. I can see what the situation looks like. However, the biggest thing that I see is, people will call me and they'll say, oh, I'm mad at my boo. I'm mad at my boyfriend. I'm mad at the guy I'm dating. He pissed me off. He didn't text me back. So next thing I always get a phone call, a text, or someone reaching out going, he called me or he reached out. And I'm like, okay, what did he say? And you know what I get? I left him on red. Wait a minute. You've been calling me and paying good money to have a conversation about this person that means so much to you. You're about to invest both your time and your money and my time into finding out what's going on with them. And the first opportunity that you get to connect with that individual, it's suddenly fucking chess move. So I left him on red, or I wasn't nice to him. He asked me, hey, good morning. And you leave him on red all day. Now that creates this uncertainty. The other individual now doesn't know what you're doing. They know that they've checked out. Personally, when I'm in my shit, I check out. I get quiet. I check out. I just go to ground. I do the things that get me back to myself. However, I do know that I have that practice in my life of just like regrounding, recalibrating, coming back to myself, figuring out what it is I want to do. So sometimes when I come up for air, I'll just check in. Hey, where's everybody at? Where are you at? What's going on with you? But when this happens and somebody gets quiet, or maybe they had a life event, maybe they weren't feeling well, maybe they were busy, maybe they lost their phone, maybe they were at work. As a paramedic for 20 years, I, have this deep understanding of sometimes your hands are full, and it bothers me when people will be like, well, you didn't answer me. Well, yeah, I was doing CPR. That's not going to stop because you called or texted, right? So I have a big, broad look at why people wouldn't be answering you, but we tend to get in our own heads and we stay in that place of what are they doing, and we obsess about it. So my number one thing when people say, what should I do? Is I always say, do you. You win both ways when you do you. So let's say you're going through an, I don't know, let's just call it an I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if we're together, we're broken up. I don't know if he's happy or unhappy, or if he likes me or doesn't like me. So what do you do? First thing people ask me is, what do I do? Karma's advice is always be authentic. If you get up in the morning and you test this bad boy, text him in the morning, good morning every day, and you're not sure how to act, go back to your normal. Do your normal routine. If you do selfies, like I personally do selfies to my boo, and I'll be like, good morning, and boom, I fire off a text or a selfie when I'm in relationship, or just different certain things that I'll ask about or do. So my recommendation is to just do what's normal, because when you act different and they're not acting normal, the both of you are at oddities with one another. It's just like being angry with someone. You don't have two people being angry. If someone else is angry, you gotta hold space for them to clear. Now, if they're laying there all the time, flipping the bird, like, dude, I'm done. But you can't have two people being angry at the same time. Like, their frustration and needs aren't being met. So if you're both angry, you gotta extricate yourself from the situation. So the first thing that I would recommend is be naturally yourself. And secondly, take yourself out of the equation. Take yourself out of the equation first. 90% of the time, I mean, we wake up and we think about people, obviously, but 90% of the time, the first thing we do in the morning is not worry about what other people do. The first thing we do is we worry about our needs, whether that's food or coffee, shower, going to the bathroom. There's 100 things that we can do in the morning. It's not going to cause us to reach out immediately. And sometimes if you've got kids, your morning can get jump started by someone else that doesn't have anything to do with what your plans are. So holding space for allowing someone else to be in whatever space they're in and not try to put you in the equation immediately. 90% of the time, people are thinking only about themselves. So in order to win at this, you ultimately have to do you. That's it, do you. So if they're in a funk, then do you. I don't care if that takes a hike, a movie, hiding in your room with a book, a long bath, working on a project, going out with other friends to get that social need met, because ultimately you can only serve from a full cup. So when you have a full cup, you are a lot more patient, understanding, giving, accommodating, peaceful. So when you step away from that situation, instead of being like, well, I'm going to leave him on red, or as soon as he reaches out, I'm going to tell him about himself. So if you have this space between you and an individual that's not gapping, that's not coming to connection on whatever level, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, money, like where you're not meeting, right? So then it goes into resentment and manipulation. So instead of playing chess, leaving him on red, telling him about himself when he calls, doing something for revenge, like going somewhere would piss him off. So like, don't do the thing. Like if he has a friend that you get wild around, or a guy you shouldn't be hanging with because it creates discord, do some healthy things. Cook in your kitchen, dance with your kids, go to the movies. Like, do you. 2 reasons why. 1, serving from a full cup. You can't serve hypoglycemic. You have to have enough energy for it. So secondly, let's go to worst case scenario. Let's say this individual decides that he wants to see someone else, that he doesn't have the energy, the money, the finances, the kids, like whatever the dynamic is. They don't have the energy to put into it, or they don't choose right now. So if you had sat there, some people call it holding space. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to hold space. I'm not going to go out with this other guy because I'm hoping this one gets his act together and that's the one I really want to be with. But if they're not presenting themselves to you in a way where you get to engage with them, there's nothing you can do about that. And if they're not sure, if it's not a resounding yes, it's a definite no. So if they're giving you a no, why are you holding on? But we'll get into that another time. So, where was I? So as we have these people, like we're going to go to worst case scenario. Let's say I'm really interested in someone and they don't know what they want. First of all, you're going to get mediocre results every time you aren't clear and decisive about what you want. So they're going to be at the mercy of forward moving energy. So anything that comes into their space is going to be taking up their attention. So instead of going to get the thing, like, oh, I'm going to go get something to eat, or I'm just going to wonder, and I don't know, the kids want pizza, my son wants McDonald's, it's whatever comes into your sphere. So worst case scenario, they don't know what they want, they finally articulate it, or they ghost you, right? So somebody suddenly ghosts you. What are you going to do? So you still do you. You still do all of those things to fill your cup, to feed your needs, to accommodate and soothe yourself. So you're better equipped to deal with either one of those scenarios. So when you get back together, you're happy, you're healthy, you're loved, you're connected, you're all of these things that give you a better perspective to understand what it is you want to do with that situation. So secondly, I was talking to a good friend of mine, coaching a relationship, and the thing that I notice about some relationships, besides the playing chess that everybody does, is they flip this and they talk about honesty and vulnerability. Don't confuse the two. So honesty is telling the truth. Vulnerability is having a safe space created for you to reveal the pain points so you can clear them, share them, release them, understand them. So I use this example. I was just thinking about it as I was talking to a client. My ex-husband was very big on honesty. Tell me the truth. And he was a little violent. So, no, he's a lot violent. So I was always afraid to open up. So I would either blink, you know, what does he want to know this answer for was more on my mind than the content of the question's answer. So when he says to me, where were you? I think, why the hell is he asking me, where am I? What did I do? Did something look bad? Suddenly I'm thinking of all the scenarios that could get me in potential physical harm, that what could he have seen, right? So that maybe he did the math wrong and it looks bad on my part. And there was a lot of that because he did the gaslighting. He would flip things on me. So honesty does not automatically create vulnerability. And I have news for you guys. Not everybody is privy to everything. I had to learn that. Because I'm just such an open, honest, unabashed person. My mouth, my tattoos, my figure, my attitude, my opinion. I don't really mind who knows it. However, I have come to realize that some information is not for everyone, right? So I know that if they have a certain religious standpoint, or that has a lot to do with morality, I know that I'm going to challenge that morality or put them in a place of judgment if I talk about my bisexuality. So it's not that I hide it, it's just not appropriate or important to most conversations. However, if it comes up, I gauge my audience, so to speak. I make sure, I'm not pulling my punches. But definitely not everything is for everyone. And, if they have a high opinion about Trump or not Trump, are you going to talk about Trump against somebody or with someone that you know is going to be like antagonistic about it? So honesty isn't for everyone. And I think that there is a huge culture about telling everybody everything, especially when you're in the dating community and you go on these apps. I hate going on social media and dating apps for this. I don't know why I'm going off on this, guys, but welcome to my world. So one of them, you go on this social media and you go on the dating and then you like each other and you look at their pictures. Personally, I look for the light of the soul. I like to see if they're doing things that brighten their face. I love a mean mug, but if that's how you live your life, I don't want a part of it. So the thing that happens on I keep saying social media, but what happens on dating apps is you get these individuals that suddenly are asking you questions your best friend wouldn't even ask, like how many kids do you have? What happened with your last relationship, and what are you looking for, and just all these. I call it the interrogation. So in order to create an open, vulnerable relationship where you're communicating about the things that matter, honesty is not the issue. I think we all have the capacity to be honest. when we have an environment that allows us to be vulnerable. And vulnerability absolutely needs safety. So how do you keep your partner safe? Is you come from non-judgment and you hold space for wherever they're at. I don't know what that situation's like, but I want to hear it. So on that note, if you are interested in hanging out with me and doing a couple lives talking about dating, I have a series that's coming up. I'm not sure how many weeks we're going to do it, but it's called Welcome to the Jungle. And I have a friend of mine, Martin. Love him, love his opinion. We're not going to talk about politics, so if you don't like the political view, just sit down. I love that this individual has the same spiritual background, single as well, from what I understand, very articulate, understands the dynamics of human psychology, and has an outside view of dating in a way that we can talk about it from both of the male and female perspectives. So if you guys want to hang out, look for clues on that. I will be posting it. We're going to be doing them live on YouTube and on Facebook through Zoom. So we will have this on YouTube if you miss it. So if you're interested in any of that, hit me up if you have any questions. Tomorrow begins my Tarot 101 class. Like I said, reach out to me for that. And as always, book your reading, karmaondeck.com. I am going to finish up here. I may come back on live right after because I like to do those videos separate so people don't have a wasted hour screwing with the time within the video to find their reading. Nobody's got time for that. So I might pop back on. I do apologize for that, but I think it's better for people. I am going to be doing Virgo and Libra today, and tomorrow I'll be doing Scorpio and Sagittarius. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. Hopefully that was useful. I do feel like I needed to do a little rant, just a little bit, about what's been coming up. There's a whole lot more content. We have like 3 pages of notes from my book that I sent over to Martin so we can be on the same page. Of course, he's going to get it pretty, most of this is expertise, not in knowledge that we're going to discuss. So there's really not going to be a topical thing. I think it's just going to progress as we go. So anyways, guys, love and light. You know what I always say, love is the answer to everything. Just come from the heart chakra. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.